Hello, everyone. Welcome back once again to our Wednesday night webinars. I got an upgrade. Check this out. Isn't that exciting? I love this. It's very fun. All right. Got some people already hopping into the chats. Good to see everybody. Hello. Once again, our Wednesday night webinars are brought to you by NOCD. NOCD is a downloadable free app that you can get on the iOS or Google Play. We have a community of people across the world who talk about their OCD and support each other. We also have teletherapy available. So if you have OCD and you're looking for a therapist, we are live in 25 different states right now. Oh, someone from Australia. Hello. G'day. Oh, that's good. I love Australia. Been there 4 times. Anyway, we have available teletherapy, and we are working on taking insurance, and we just keep signing more and more insurance companies up all the time. So reach out to us right there up in the corner in that yellow box with the little blue hyperlink there. You can give us a little click on that, or you can go to treatmyocd.com and feel free to talk to our care team. They'll do a free 15-minute call with you to see if NOCD therapy could be correct or right or good for you. All right. Welcome from my basement. I was thinking, I feel like Wayne's World when I say that. Hey, welcome to the basement. Rock on. I started off, if you go to the beginning tonight of where the chats are, put a little quote in there. A favorite quote of mine from Alanis Morissette from her song Excuses. And it's a great song. I highly recommend go listen to it after this tonight. But I love the refrain. These excuses, how they've served me so well. They've kept me safe. They've kept me stuck. They've kept me locked in my own cell. These excuses, how they're so familiar. They've kept me small. They've kept me blocked. They've kept me safe inside my shell. And I bring that up because of all the excuses that we hear from our OCD, why we should keep our OCD and why we shouldn't listen to therapists or do exposures or anything like that. And it's been exciting this week. One of the features that we've launched through the NOCD app, for those of you who want to try this out, we have a SOS service now. And what that is you can hit that SOS button on the app. If you're in the midst of, say, a real difficult obsession and that urge to go and do that compulsion is really coming through and it's really high, the SOS function is there to walk you through what to do so that you won't do the compulsion. And you get to listen to me talk to you for a few minutes and try to work with you on resisting that compulsion, doing that good response prevention piece that's so necessary in overcoming obsessive compulsive disorder. So check out the SOS feature on the app, and just another good reason to download the NOCD app. All right, a few other announcements. Just so all of you know, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend will be the International OCD Foundation Conference, which is virtual this year. So if any of you are interested in attending, go to the International OCD Foundation website at www.iocdf.org and check out the upcoming virtual conference. It'll be very exciting, our first one. So we'll see how that goes. Yours truly will be speaking at it as well. So it's bound to be awesome, right? If I'm speaking at it, I mean, come on. What else would it be? And our Wednesday night webinars continue, and our Diversity Matters webinar for August will continue, and we'll be focusing on people on the autistic spectrum. So we will have a couple of specialists in, and we will also bring in somebody who I believe has autism as well. We're working on that to get their opinion as well. So we're really excited about that. All right, let's dive in. Kelly, I hear stuff about OCD false attraction. What is that exactly, and how does it differ from real attraction? Well, just that question right there is an amazingly great example of OCD, of having to figure out exactly what the difference is between two things. Because if I don't know exactly what the difference is, then how will I know if I have a real attraction to somebody or a false attraction to somebody, right? And of course, when you have OCD, there is no way to know if it's a real or a false attraction because your OCD will give you doubt no matter what, right? Now, that probably just turned a few heads right there when I said that there's what? Wait, there's no way to know if I'm actually attracted to somebody? Well, I'd say that there is when OCD isn't influencing the experience, but when OCD is influencing the experience, it's very difficult to tell because OCD mucks up everything, right? I mean, no one gets 100% answer or feels 100% confident with the OCD experience. So it's very hard to say in that kind of situation what is a true attraction and what isn't a true attraction because OCD will be getting in my way of being able to really tell that. So, Kelly, I would take a look at maybe prior to the influence of OCD in your life, if there was a time that that was happening and you felt attracted to somebody, you know what it feels like to be attracted to someone. And that would be then what I would call a real attraction, right? And basing it kind of on that. So let me know if that works for you. Nikki asked, what topic is this week? Nikki, we are open forum this week. You can ask anything that you like. Okay. Mohammed, I can't drive. I get urges to hit people and jump off the bridge with the car. Oh, I've treated tons of this one. That's a lot of fun. So, of course, the goal is to get you driving and to drive while passing people and think about hitting them, and then to go over bridges and think about turning the wheel really fast and just jumping over. Now, here's an interesting thing to share with all of you. Almost anyone who drives at some point in time has thought, what if I turn the wheel really fast right now and take the car off of the bridge into the river below? That is an amazingly common OCD thought, and it is also an amazingly common just everybody who drives thought as well too. So the interesting thing about that, I think, is that people without OCD do often share the intrusive thoughts that people with OCD have as well. And that may be very surprising to some of you who have OCD that that would be the case, but it's actually true. Intrusive thoughts are common. They happen all the time. And I've sometimes joked with my patients and said to them, I think I might have more intrusive thoughts than you because I've been treating OCD for 20 years now. And I have pretty much absorbed every intrusive thought that anyone with OCD has ever had. I'm at the point now where I can't not think some of these intrusive thoughts when I do situations. So if I happen to be out at the top of a staircase with somebody, I'm going to think about getting them pushed down the stairs and me being the one doing the pushing down the stairs. Or if I'm driving and I see somebody crossing the street, now I play a point game. I'm like, ooh, old person with walker, 30 points, or woman with stroller, 50 points, that kind of thing. And now that doesn't mean that we go and we run them over, right? It just means that those thoughts pop into our head. So we can either recognize them as just thoughts that pop into our head, or we could say, oh my gosh, that's bad. That's awful. That's horrible. I should never have that happen ever again. So we want people to realize that it's okay to have those thoughts. Doesn't mean that we're going to do them. And that gets into thought action fusion, right? The idea that a thought is as bad as an action, or a thought is equal to doing something. And as we actually know, thoughts don't equal actions. So, for example, I want all of you, we've done this before, let's do it again. I want all of you to stare at the ceiling above you, and for the next 10 seconds, wish for it to fall on top of your head. Go. Okay. I'm going to bet nobody had a ceiling collapse on top of them. Therefore, thoughts don't make things happen. But you'll say, but what if in the future they do? Well, there's where OCD wins the argument all the time, because OCD always has an out, and the out is always, but what if in the future? And there's no answer to that, of course. I can't guarantee you that it won't happen. And you might say, well, if you can't guarantee to me that it won't happen, then I shouldn't ever do it. But I also can't guarantee that you won't fall down the stairs next time you walk stairs. So stop walking on stairs, right? Or I can't guarantee that next time you brush your teeth, you won't choke on the toothbrush. So don't brush your teeth anymore. And I could just go down the list of all sorts of things that I can't guarantee for you as well. And so why is it okay if I can't guarantee those things? You don't care. But if this one or two things I can't guarantee, you're like, but that's so important. I have to have guarantees on that. And the reality is, no, you don't. You don't have to have guarantees on that, just like you don't have guarantees on anything else in your life. Your OCD has just decided that you do need guarantees on that, even though it's okay not to have them in other areas. So, Mohammed, thanks for the, everyone's liking the new setup. Thank you all. Appreciate that. It's kind of fun. Anna, hey. Hi, Doc. Hi, Anna. I have intrusive thoughts about why things are morally wrong. Oh, well, a couple of things right off the bat. If you go to the International OCD Foundation, I did a 4.5 hours of conversation around moral scrupulosity with John Hirschfield, and Ethan Smith was the host of that. So you can check that out on the International OCD Foundation. Like, why is it wrong to kill someone, molest someone, steal, and so on? I just know they are, but I get obsessed of finding out why. Any advice? So this is interesting. Sometimes people with OCD will do this. They'll say, I know something's wrong, but I have to know why it's wrong, right? And this is just another example of what OCD tells you that you have to know, because you might feel like you have to know why, because what if there's a loophole in there? And what if you found the loophole and then you found a way to then suddenly think these things weren't bad or wrong? And then you decided then, well, if that's the case, then I can actually do them and get away with them, right? So I have to 100% know exactly why they are wrong in order to be fully sure that they are wrong, so that I'll never accidentally go and do them or have the desire to go do them because I found some kind of loophole around them. So that'd be one way, Anna, right off the bat that I would say. But OCD also says that it's unacceptable not to know 100% of the information that you could know about something. 99% is not enough, right? Sometimes I've had patients who have said to me, now, I'm probably going to need about 7 or 8 sessions with you to give you my full life story, because how could you treat me without knowing that? And I'll say, I'll need about half a session to get the story, and then we're going to get started. I don't need to know your full life story. I don't need to know absolutely everything about you. And I don't even fully need to know everything about your OCD. I need to know enough to get you going and get you started, right? But OCD says, oh, no, you have to know everything. I mean, how could you ever be able to do something without knowing everything about it? And of course, we're not here to know everything again, right? We're here to know enough to get going. Okay. So, Anna, do you also have to know everything about why your car works? And do you have to study absolutely everything about that in order to drive? Probably not, right? So you've already decided that there are things in life that it's okay not to know everything about. Well, then you don't have to know everything about, murder and stealing and all those things as well, too. Where can one get a mic like that? Well, I got it online. It is made by, who's the company? Maono. Mayano, I believe it's called. Check it out online. Maono. Another question. Hi, Anna, again. I feel that if I give up my compulsions on checking, if I find something wrong, I will act out since I can't find the answer. How do I learn to go about this? Well, first of all, the statement you made there is one of my favorites. And again, a very common OCD statement, which is, I feel like. Now, anytime a patient says to me, I feel like, I stop them right off the bat and say, I don't care what you feel like. It doesn't really matter to me what you feel like, because what you feel like is meaningless. Just because I feel like something doesn't actually mean it's true or it's real or it's going to come true or it's going to come real. It's just another way of saying, but what if, right, is really what it is. So let's just call it out for what it is. It's another what if type of question. And what do we know we have to do with what if questions? We have to do ERP, and we have to test things out. We have to do response prevention. We have to sit with the discomfort, and we have to learn that we can handle it. Okay. Now, you may come up with every single reason why you shouldn't do something because something might happen. But I'm going to go back to, again, then you shouldn't ever drive because something bad might happen if that's the case. So, Anna, I'm going to ask you to do what I've asked 17 other people to do so far, but no one's actually done, but I'm hoping you will. Send me the title to your car and the keys, and then have your car shipped to my address. I can private message you that address. And since you will never have the guarantee that something won't go wrong while driving, I'm going to assume you'll never want to drive anymore now. So I'll take your car. I'd be happy to use it and add it to my arsenal of vehicles. That would be great. All right. Moving on. Peter says he has really horrible, inappropriate jokes come all the time. Yeah. Tell me about it. All right. Hi, Lisa. You love listening. Very informational broadcast. Well, thank you. And I am having a nice evening. So thank you, Lisa. I always enjoy these Wednesday nights. They're very fun to be with all of you. She says, I know when you have OCD, cleaning and keeping your bedroom clean can be a challenge because it can get so cluttered and then you just don't either have the time or energy to keep it clean all the time. So do you have any suggestions about starting to clean my room and keep it clean and organized when you have contamination and just right OCD? I have tried to clean it in the past and it just takes forever to do and is almost impossible to keep it that way and organized. Thanks. Well, Lisa, I want you to try a concept that we call just good enough, right? Good enough. Not perfect. Not clean the way OCD wants it to be clean, but good enough. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, there might still be a shirt hanging over the side of a chair. And maybe the sheets aren't quite even when you make the bed. And maybe there's one more pillow on one side than on the other. But it's good enough. And that's just what it has to be. OCD wants perfectionism. It wants it just right. It has to be perfectly clean. Sometimes people don't do something because they know how hard it will be once they start doing it to finish it. And it's hard to finish because they have to do it the OCD way. I mean, I've met people with contamination and cleanliness concerns who haven't taken a shower for months because they know that once they do take a shower, it's going to be hours and hours and hours long. And it's just easier not to do it than it is to do it because they have this notion that once I start to get clean, I have to get completely clean. There's no in between. There's no half clean, right? There's just once I start to get clean, I have to get perfectly clean. So I want you Lisa, I want you to do a half-assed job on cleaning your room. And I want you to sit with that and be okay with it and learn how to be comfortable with that. Okay. Once again, everyone, Wednesday night webinar brought to you by NOCD. NOCD, a downloadable app on Google Play or iOS. And if you want to reach out to us about teletherapy that we do in over 25 states right now, and we continue to take more and more insurance companies, go to treatmyocd.com and have a free 15-minute call with one of our care team, or go onto that little hyperlink right up there in the corner. And you can check that out as well, too, and that will get you to our care team. We'd be happy to chat with you. Peter, hello. Can intrusive thoughts manifest in jokes? Well, sure. We could joke about anything. And sometimes people use humor as a way to diffuse things. So, in fact, I had a patient one time who had seen something on the news that was really horrific. And it was very overwhelming to him. And he laughed, actually. And he got called out on that by someone else and then thought, well, now I can never laugh again because I'm a horrible person for having laughed at that, without having recognized that sometimes when people get horrible news, some people laugh because they just don't have no other way of handling it. So could be. Hello, Sarah. With harm OCD telling me to put my hand in the blender, how can I separate the thoughts and urges to keep safe? Same with suicidal thoughts. Well, Sarah, number one, don't put your hand in a blender. And I'll tell you why, because people have actually decided that that would be a good idea and been harmed by that. And that goes beyond OCD. That's a really interesting, we could probably spend a whole time discussing something like that. So here's the thing. It's never a good idea to go out and test what's the limit I can take something to without getting harmed, right? We're never going to do an ERP of, let's put your hand in the blender and see what happens. ERP is going to be, though I have an intrusive thought about what if I were to put my hand in the blender, I'm going to just sit with that and recognize that I can handle having that thought. And it doesn't mean that I have to go and actually do that. Same thing with suicidal thoughts or homicidal thoughts or pedophilic issues or anything like that, right? OCD can convince us that, well, having these what if thoughts might mean that I actually want to do those types of things. And the answer, of course, is, well, we wouldn't want anyone doing those things, right? We want people to realize that a thought is just a thought, or an image is an image, or an urge is an urge. But just because I even have the urge to do something doesn't mean that I have to give in to it, right? And that's where many people get confused on an urge is bad. So if I have this urge to, harm myself or harm somebody else or molest a child or whatever it might be, then it means that I'm just like a step away from doing it. And no, that's actually not the case whatsoever. You've heard me describe being cut off in traffic. I always have the urge to, just ram my car into people when that happens. I've never done it though. And I don't stop driving because I know that I'm not going to do it. But boy, that instantaneous urge is like, to go and do that kind of thing. So it's okay to have urges. There's nothing wrong with an urge. But it also doesn't mean that we have to follow through on them. Okay. Hello, Ankita. I hope I pronounced that right. You're suffering through relationship and orientation-based OCD, and at first you were having anxiety, but now you're kind of numb. You want to love your boyfriend, but now you're scared to touch him. Okay. So I would just ask this: what would be wrong with touching him? You're probably thinking, oh, but what if I'm not really attracted to him? And what if I'm attracted to someone else, right? Or what if he's not the right one for him, and all these things? Well, here's what I will guarantee will happen is our OCD without being treated and orientation OCD without being treated will carry through into every single relationship you have going forward in your life. And you will then never feel satisfied with anybody that you're with because you'll always think, but what if I'm supposed to be with that person or this person, or I'm supposed to love someone more than I love them, or what if they don't love me enough or something like that? Okay. So recognize that OCD is kind of an earworm that's behind all of you and all of the things that you really love or want in your life that you find to be important. OCD picks on those specific things, right? If you don't give a crap if your, picture frame is a little sideways, OCD is not going to bug you on that. But if you would be concerned, oh my gosh, what if something would ruin my relationship? OCD is going to jump in on that, and that's going to be the thing that's the theme for your OCD, and that's just the way it's going to go. Sal asks, what do we suggest when OCD is not a compulsion but a feeling? Do we just sit and take on the anxious feeling without giving it attention, although it's always there? Yeah, I mean, I would say that there probably are compulsions, Sal. Maybe they're mental, though, and so they're not physical. They're not really recognizable. But barring that, because I still haven't yet met anyone who has OCD that doesn't have obsessions and compulsions. So I would say there's going to be a compulsion in there somewhere. But do we just sit with feelings and learn how to live with them? Yeah. Or we head on face them and we go do the anxiety provoking thing with that feeling there, and we learn that we can handle doing that thing. So panickers will want to avoid anything that might get their heart rate up. So what do? I have them get their heart rate up. I have them run up and down staircases and spin in chairs and hyperventilate and run in place and breathe through straws and hold their breath and all sorts of things to simulate symptoms of panic. You want to run toward it, right? Think of firefighters. Firefighters don't run away from the fire like everybody in the building does. They run toward the fire. And so I want you to think kind of like a firefighter. It's time to run toward the anxiety and face it head on and learn that it doesn't have to control you. Okay. Carrie asked, when at work, how to stop compulsions? You feel like you're getting behind. Well, Carrie, that would be something to really bring up with a therapist, right? And to talk about what are the specific compulsions that you're doing and how can you work on response prevention for those specific compulsions, because the goal would be to introduce response prevention into that experience. Okay. Hi, Tracy. Tracy's had orientation OCD, but now suffers with POCD or pedophilic themes. Your main problem is debating if your thoughts and feelings are the same of a pedophile. This makes you worry and feel bad and guilty. I know I feel bad about it, therefore would never do anything, but just the constant debating if I'm a pedophile is what gets me. It's been 15 years with this thought. Okay, 15 years. So how much more debate is required? I'm curious. I mean, maybe another 36 years of debating before you're comfortable with it? Oh, wait, hold on. You have OCD, Tracy, which therefore means another 100 years of debate wouldn't satisfy this as well, too. So, Tracy, it is time to stop debating. Debating never works, and OCD has never lost a debate. This is why I don't try to debate people who have OCD about what's good or bad or right or wrong, because I know I'm going to lose, because OCD doesn't debate fairly. When I'm debating, I use logic. OCD goes outside of the realm of logic, right? So OCD throws on yeah, but what ifs anywhere that it possibly can. And it doesn't matter if they make sense or not. It doesn't matter if they could really happen or not, because they're what ifs. So they don't have to really be able to happen. They just have to be what if. And that's all that really counts, right? So, Tracy, your number one goal, I think, is working with a therapist who can help you to stop these debates. Or when OCD is kind of goading you on here about, hey, Tracy, what about that? Oh, Tracy, hey, Tracy, what about that? Yeah. That you're able to say, okay, little OCD, I'm just not going to pay much attention to you anymore, but thanks for trying. See you later. Bye. Catch you on another time. And moving on from it. Just because OCD throws something out there doesn't mean that one has to listen to it. Now, I get that that's a weird concept, right? But I have weird thoughts all day long that I just pay no attention to whatsoever. And sometimes I just laugh at because I think they're absolutely ridiculous. Okay. So that's all I want you to do too. Now, of course, that's harder when you have OCD, right? Because it takes it to a whole nother level. But it becomes the goal of what you want to do in the treatment. Susan asked about Dr. Schwartz's treatment. We talked about that a couple episodes ago. If you look at the episode that I did with Dr. Alec Pollard, you'll see the answer to that. Can suddenly not be able to believe in the existence of God because of my OCD? If yes, how can I recover my belief? Well, I wouldn't say that OCD is going to cause you suddenly to become an atheist, but OCD is about doubt, right? And so OCD is going to put doubt into anything. It could be any belief that you have, any faith that you have, or anything of that nature. So it wouldn't be uncommon that people who are religious maybe stop going to church, because then going to church becomes very uncomfortable for them because of all the doubts they start to experience while they're going to church. Or they might find that it's just easier not to think about their God that they've worshiped for so long because of all the doubt then that comes along with thinking about that God. So ERP would be helpful in this situation to teach you how to be back in the faith that you have and not listen to all of the doubt that comes in, and pay attention to it and do whatever it tells you to do. So I would seek out a therapist for that. Kelly asks, are hypochondriasis and OCD related? Yeah, there's a lot of link, although now we call it more like health anxiety and somatic symptom disorder and things of that nature. But yes, there's a big relationship between those. And because there's a lot of checking, right? And there's a lot of going to doctors, maybe unnecessarily even, and getting tests taken over and over again as well too. So yes, there can be big relationships between those things as well. Absolutely. All right. So, reminder, welcome to the NOCD Wednesday night webinar. We have hit our halfway mark for the night. Keep those questions coming in. And a reminder for those who have the NOCD app, our new SOS feature on the app, really helpful if you find yourself in the midst of an obsession and the urge to do a compulsion, and that urge is getting really, really hard to handle and you want some assistance. We now have an SOS function that can help you with that. So check it out on our app. And if you want to talk to a therapist, go to treatmyocd.com. You can sign up for a free 15-minute call with one of our care team members. I had an incident where a therapist nearly sent me to a mental hospital. I was 100% sure I didn't need it. It was my OCD, and she thought I was hallucinating. Well, this is why it's important to talk to a specialist. in OCD, because you are correct. There are therapists who don't specialize in OCD who will treat things the wrong way. Our founder, Stephen Smith, talks about that, where one therapist suggested he move away from his family, and another therapist suggested he put a rubber band on his wrist, and every time he had an intrusive thought that he snapped the rubber band. So there's a lot of bad therapy out there, right? So it's really important to find a specialist. And that's why we've started OCD. And Stephen's goal in starting OCD was to make sure that people had access to specialists. And that's what we do at NOCD. We train therapists to use exposure and response prevention to treat obsessive compulsive disorder. And that is what we do. Carolyn says that her sister with OCD tendencies keeps wanting to hash out whether or not she really likes the guy she's dating, and wants to know how to engage in these conversations. Any suggestions? Yes, Carolyn, I would say next time your sister brings something like that up, I would write down the question, then I would write down the answer. And then if she ever brings that up again, you just hand her that booklet that you wrote it down in. So get a notebook and call it whatever your sister's name, will say it's Lisa. Lisa's questions about her guy. And you just write the question down and then write down the answer. And if she ever asks it again, boom, you say, hey, page 4, already answered that one. That one, oh, that's on page 6, already answered that one. And you never engage in a conversation about a question that you've already answered ever again. That would be my suggestion. Let's see. So I've been diagnosed with OCD, POCD, harm OCD. Sometimes I feel urges to stare at private areas of people or kids. It also happens to family members I don't want to be attracted to. Why do I feel the need to stare, even though it only causes me to feel awful and lead me onto more intrusive thoughts? Well, here's the thing. You don't need to stare, right? Your OCD might be telling you, test yourself out. So stare at inappropriate things to whatever your OCD thinks is inappropriate, right? So it may say that children's genitals and family members and staring at them that would be totally inappropriate. So why don't you take a look at them and see if there's any kind of arousal or feeling that you get from them. And if you have any of those, that's awful, horrible, and it's proof that you really are a horrible, bad monster and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. So Drew, what I want you to do is stop testing yourself, right? Because that's what you're doing right now. Every stare is a test to kind of check out how are you feeling about that. And as long as you feel horrible about it, then that's great, right? Because your OCD is going to tell you that you should feel horrible about that. So, oh, wait, there's another kid. Let's test now if you still feel horrible about it. You do? Oh, wonderful. But then OCD is also going to say to you, but wait a minute, what did you just do? You stare. Oh, well, you shouldn't have done that though. So then your OCD is going to beat you up. So OCD prescribes the cure and the punishment all in the same thing. The cure is to stare at somebody and hopefully be disgusted or feel awful or horrible about the fact that you're doing it, but then punishes you also for having done it even in the first place, right? So you're in a hard place. You're in a no-win situation. And so what I want you to do is to recognize that when OCD might say to you, what if you were to stare at them? Or maybe you want to stare at them. Your job is to say, I'm just not going to do what my OCD wants me to do because I know the rabbit hole that's going to lead me down and it's not going to get me anywhere that I want to be. Okay. My message to all of you, I want everyone, all right, everyone, pay attention. Stop typing, whatever you're doing, pay attention. You ready? Here we go. You don't have to do what your OCD tells you to do. You don't have to pay attention to what your OCD tells you. It's true. You really don't. Okay. It's totally not necessary. That's the whole goal of treatment too. Getting you to recognize that OCD is going to be there, but you don't really have to pay attention to it. You don't have to listen to it. You don't have to believe it. I still haven't met an OCD yet that tells the truth. I only meet OCD that tells lies all the time. Not one OCD has told the truth yet. But everybody says to me, but what if? One time it does. But what if, but what if, but what if? It's a what if life. Sounds like an Annie song. It's a what if life for me. It's a what if life for me. What if I were to hit a child? What if I were to run someone over with my car? It's a what if life. My sister listened to Annie like thousands of times when she was younger and I was younger. And so I memorized the entire thing. So you can all now sing the What If song. In fact, if you want to put in your own lyrics into the chat here tonight, that would be fun. What is your It's a What If Life song? Okay. Think about that. Veronica says it's her first time listening and using this, and we would not believe how much listening to this has been helping her. Well, thank you, Veronica. We're so glad that you're here. Okay. We answered that one. Thank you, Carolyn. Carolyn points out that I said, I don't care what you feel like. And she said, words you don't expect to hear from a therapist. How very true. Yes, how very true. But think about how much therapy, you see on TV and what the representation of therapy is, which is, how do you feel? How do you feel? Well, guess what? I already know how you feel. You're anxious, right? So I don't need to go into that a lot. I need to take a look at what is it that you're doing and how can I get you to stop doing the things that you're doing? Because that's the thing that's really maintaining what's going on. That's where the focus really needs to be. So. All right. How do I get over separation OCD and that I won't see my parents again if I leave them? So, well, there's separation anxiety. So I'm just going to throw out, I don't know that it would be separation OCD or separation anxiety, right? But if it's that I'm afraid something bad will happen to them or something like that, that could fall into separation anxiety as well too. Either way, it's practicing being away from your parents for longer periods of time. So it might start with an hour and then 2 hours and then half a day and then an 8-hour work day and then maybe an overnight trip with a friend or something like that. And just growing and building that more and more over time to get yourself to realize that you can handle that. I mean, with COVID, I haven't seen my parents for months. We've chatted on the phone here and there, but it doesn't mean though that I won't ever see them again either. Right? We'd love some suggestions for someone with contamination OCD during the dealing with COVID. Well, some of the things we've talked about, and again, Jody, if you want to go back and look at some of the older one of these, we did a lot on COVID, but I will just kind of highlight a few things here, which is do what the CDC says and nothing more, because that's all you need to do. Anything more than that is OCD, right? So 20 seconds of hand washing is all that's necessary. Anything more than that is going to be more into the OCD realm than it is into the CDC realm. Okay, so that's the biggest thing. I mean, I do what they say. When I go out, I wear a mask, and when I come in, I wash my hands for 20 seconds. Those are the two things I do. And I live with someone who's immunocompromised, and we don't do more than that in our home. Okay. All right. Let's see. We got that. Some suggestions for ERP around relationship and HOCD would be, well, if there's doubts about, from what your thing here is, your boyfriend, go on a date, hold hands, kiss each other, and recognize that the date is going to be infused with questions about, is this the right person? And am I really attracted to them? And continue on the date, right? Now, will the date go probably as great as you want it to? Probably not, because OCD loves to just poop on every party that it can join, right? So, but you'll learn to handle it. And if you keep doing that, I think that it will start to get better because you'll learn, look, I can still enjoy my time with this person, even though I have all these other stupid thoughts running through my head. So I guess I don't have to listen to everything that my OCD tells me. Because again, OCD is a liar. It does not tell the truth. Okay. What do I know about the interplay between POCD, moral scrupulosity, OCD, real event POCD, pornography? All the, wow, Jesus, that's a lot. Well, there's a lot of things that can go on there where you might feel that it's morally wrong to have certain types of thoughts, and then you might test yourself out about those thoughts. And if it has to do with POCD, you might, or HOCD or something like that, maybe there would be looking at images or pornography or something of that nature to test yourself if you're attracted to certain things that you think that you shouldn't be attracted to, or your OCD tells you shouldn't be attracted to. And if there's any of that groinal kind of response that goes on, then you might use that as proof that maybe you are attracted to those things. And then your OCD is going to punish you for that. And then you're going to feel like you're a horrible person and you shouldn't be in society around other people because maybe you're dangerous, and on and on. Hopefully that kind of just gives you a little bit of idea of what that interplay might be. What is racing thoughts? It's just thoughts that keep running through your head over and over again, and it's really hard to challenge. And so we want people to learn how to live with the fact that thoughts sometimes will be racing through your head, and it's not about stopping them. It's about learning how to handle them. That's the key. How do I handle them? I call myself constantly learning about the brain and how to help myself, but then I overwhelm myself with all the info and I feel like I'll never heal. What should I do? Well, Rachel, there comes a point where there's just going to be enough information, right? We have to kind of go with this. I remember this back to when I was doing my dissertation, and it felt like I could never look up enough articles to include into the literature review of my dissertation. And every day that I would go and look up another article, I would find then references in that one, which would lead me to more articles and more articles. And there had to come a day where I just said, today's the last day. Today's the day where I have enough information. I'm not going to go anymore. And maybe I'll miss something. It is a possibility. And hell, maybe even the committee members will say, hey, you missed this article. It could happen. But there comes a point where you just have to say, enough's enough. I have the information I need, and that's what I'm going to have to go with. And that's what we would practice doing with OCD as well, too. Sharon has a fear of driving for most of her life. She started to work on it in therapy. Wonderful. She's realizing it's OCD, fear about hurting or killing other people, herself, not being able to handle the car, etc. You can drive well, but you don't have your license at 44. You've gotten so nervous every time you've gone out to the Motor Vehicle Association. You failed one part you know how to do and have done it when you're not there. Yeah. So Sharon, you're doing the right stuff. Practice your driving. And what might be good for ERP is to have someone sit in the passenger seat with a clipboard and have them put you through the driver's test multiple times. So mock up the test as much as you possibly can so that the day that you do go and get your actual license, it'll feel just like you've been doing this numerous times. I did that when I took my license exam. I carved out Saturday mornings for 3 months, and every Saturday morning I would do a practice exam from 9 to noon. That was my thing that I had to do. And that way, when I got to the actual exam, it wasn't really a big deal because I'd practiced doing the exam so many times. So I hope that could be helpful. Is counting and thinking thoughts a specific type of OCD, and how can I stop it? Well, Aaron, it's not necessarily about wanting to stop counting. I mean, obviously you do want to stop counting, but that's not going to be my goal right away in treatment. My goal is going to be that if the urge to count is there, do I have to fulfill it, right? So maybe you want to answer that question first. And what if I didn't? How would I feel if I didn't count? And maybe you could count things wrong at first, right? So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it could be 12, 19, 347, 928, 2, 1,474, that kind of thing, and just kind of screw up the counting a little bit, which will probably really piss off OCD at first, but that's okay, because really that's my job in life, is to piss off your OCD. And it's one of my greatest satisfactions in the world as well, is angering any of your OCD. So just so you know, it's kind of what I live for. And get yourself to recognize that, yeah, I don't really have to give in to everything that the OCD wants me to do, or don't have to do it the way that it tells me to do. And I can really say to OCD, screw you. I'm not gonna do all that you want. I'm not gonna be at your bidding anymore. That's just not gonna happen. Okay. 1:45, everyone. Welcome to the NOCD podcast, our Wednesday night webinars that we do. And if you need help with OCD, you can book a free 15-minute call with our care team, and they can hook you up with one of our NOCD therapists who are across the country in 25 states currently. And our new SOS feature on the app, if you find yourself in the midst of an obsession and an urge to do a compulsion, you can hit that SOS tab and you get me walking you through an experience to help you challenge things, okay? All right, let's kind of jump around here a little bit. Instead of intrusive thoughts or images, I'm now having intrusive sensations. Is this normal for OCD? Sure, that can happen, absolutely. If it's anything you don't want, then OCD is probably going to throw it at you, right? So I would say that makes a lot of sense. It always feels wrong and I can't stop. I count events and things. That one's a little jumbled. I'm going to skip that one. Yeah, Ben asked about, can we talk about HOCD? We did a whole show about it last week, Ben. So if you want, you can go and take a look at that, because that would be all of last week's show. Okay, no problem. Let's see. I'm starting school in a month, and writing and taking notes is hard for me, and I have to write in specific ways, dot my I's certain ways, etc. It really hampers on the speed and clarity of my notes. Any advice? Should I just invest in typing things out, even though I think writing things down helps me retain more? Thanks. Well, Alex, I would ask this. Why do you have to write things in certain ways? What is the purpose of that? And what would happen if you dotted your I wrong? Why not test it out and try it and see how it is? Now, it's going to be annoying at first, right? Because a lot of ERP is annoying at first. When we first started, it's kind of like, oh gosh, this feels horrible. That dot on that I is just not where it's supposed to be. I feel like I have to tear this entire piece of paper up right now and start all these notes all over again, because how will I ever be able to go back and read this knowing that that I is dotted incorrectly? But I hope as I say that out loud, you start to think, well, that sounds kind of ridiculous, actually. I mean, imagine if, Alex, one day you have a child, right? And they bring you a poem that they wrote, and the T is crossed, not at a 90-degree angle, but at maybe a 75-degree angle. Will you say to them, this is an unacceptable poem. This T is crossed really wrong, and I'm going to give it back to you until you do it perfectly? I would hope not. I would hope that you're okay with the way that it is. And if you can be okay with someone else doing it that way, could you be okay with yourself doing it that way as well, too? Okay. See how that goes. Are intrusive sensations normal? Absolutely, they are. 100% they are. Totally. Happen to everybody. Mm-hmm. I'm going to see if anybody wrote song lyrics as I look through here. Oh, Kaylee just put something out. To watch every week's webinar, be sure to subscribe to NOCD's YouTube channel. Kaylee Smith, thank you for being on there and throwing that on. Anybody who has questions about some of the things that we've talked about in the past, or some of the themes of the shows that we've had, we have had 2 diversity webinars so far, one for Black, African-American cultural concerns, and then one on LGBTQIA concerns as well, too. and HOCD, now called orientation OCD, because it's not just HOCD. So wonderful. Thank you, Kaylee. Let's see. Chrissy Hodges does have a nice channel. Correct. Mm-hmm. Connie says NOCD's been helpful so much. Well, wonderful. Thank you, Connie. We're so glad to see that. Would I recommend the SOS OCD part for a child with OCD? Stacy, I think that it could help, definitely. Absolutely. And it's definitely set up for any age. There's nothing in it that's going to be very triggering or anything like that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Okay, all of my life I was fine. Then 2 months ago, I had one sexually intrusive image about my younger cousins, and now everything has spiraled out of control in my brain. I don't understand how this happened. Well, it's a very common experience, actually, Jay, that you describe, where one thing popped in my head one day, and I just kind of went down this rabbit hole of why did that happen, and what does it mean? And now I have to question every thought that I've ever had in my life and every intention that I've ever had about anything. And does this now mean that I might actually want that or like that? And did I cause that to happen? And what did I do to cause it to happen? And why didn't I stop it when I maybe recognized it? Did I leave it go a millisecond too long, longer than I should have? And what does that say about me as a person that I did that? And on and on and on. Does that sound familiar to anybody out there? Probably. So here's the thing. None of us has to necessarily understand how OCD has gotten to where it's gotten. But what we do understand is how to do treatment for it. And again, that's where a NOCD therapist can be very helpful to you. And if you're not in a state where NOCD is, our goal by the end of the year is to be in all 50 states. We're working on it, everybody. We're so working on it right now. So that's what we would like to get to. But find a therapist who can help you with recognizing that you can handle thoughts, intrusive thoughts you don't like, thoughts you may think are bad or wrong or awful or horrible or disgusting or whatever they are, because everybody in the world has those thoughts. The only difference between people with and without OCD is people without OCD think, oh, that was weird. And people with OCD do the whole investigation and all those types of things with it. So there's nothing wrong with a thought. Thoughts are not bad. Thoughts are not dangerous. Thoughts don't make things happen. But when you start judging thoughts as if they are bad and that they could cause things to happen and that they mean something about you, well, then that's where we get a problem, right? So, all right. Let's see what else we got here. Come to Kentucky. We're working on it, Christine. I promise you, we're working on it. Let's see. I've had everything just there's so many questions coming. Things pop off the screen after a while. I have intrusive thoughts like, what if I was abused in the past and don't remember? I'm really scared when I think this. Yes. So there's one piece of OCD that's always interesting about what if something happened to me, but I don't remember that it happened to me. And so I have to do all sorts of thinking about if it did happen and how will I know and what can I do to really figure it out and what can I do to confirm the answer that it did or didn't. And of course, the answer to this is that there's going to be probably not much anyone can do to confirm that something did or didn't happen in the past if you don't remember it and no one else remembers it, right? We don't have time machines to go back, but OCD won't let that go and doesn't accept that that's a final answer. OCD says, but there would be a way to figure it out. And if you just maybe spend more time in your memory or go get hypnotized or do whatever it might be, then you can actually figure out if something like this has happened to you or not, right? or you'll look for signs or symptoms. Like maybe one reason I don't like to have my neck touched by my partner is because what if one time in the past somebody did something to me and they grabbed my neck and now I just blocked it out and I don't remember it or something like that. We see this with harm too. What if I actually harmed someone but I don't remember harming someone? So it could be about something coming harm to me, or it could be about me having harmed someone else as well. These are very common kinds of OCD thoughts and things that a therapist can work with you on. And it's going to be to allow you to recognize that, again, just because these things pop in your head doesn't mean they're true, doesn't mean they're real, and doesn't mean that you have to pay all that attention to them as well. Okay. Connie, we are not in Canada yet, and someone else, we are not in England yet either, but we're going to work on it. Promise you, we're going to work on it. So, well, that's where we're going to try to get across the world there. Okay. No one wrote a song lyric. I'm really sad. I was hoping I'd read some, but is age a factor in OCD? I'm close to 60 and recently diagnosed. Well, OCD happening after about age 35 is pretty rare, but not unheard of. Okay. So maybe there's a possibility that you had OCD younger in life and now you're just recognizing it as OCD, or it could be a late onset OCD, which again happens. It does happen. So no one, unfortunately, is immune to OCD. I mean, the youngest kid I treated was 4 with OCD. So it's out there for sure. Let's see. What else do we have? Alex joining in. Thank you, Alex. And then, all right, we'll go with this one. Can we give you some advice for false memory OCD? So that kind of goes along with the last question that we just had, and we'll use this for the last one for tonight. It's like the greatest what if ever, right? The false memory OCD. What if I did something and I don't know that I did it? I think that I might have done something, or maybe I did do something and I don't remember it. Maybe something happened to me and I don't remember it. I know that I was driving drunk one night and then I saw a year later that there had been a motorcycle accident around the time that I was driving. And I don't know if it was the exact day or not, but maybe I do remember a motorcycle driving past me while I was drunk. Does that mean that I hit them? And we could just take this to the nth degree, of course, about all of these things, right? And all of these what ifs and people who will say to me, but it feels so real, which goes back to something that I said earlier about, I often say to patients, I don't really care so much about when you say to me, I feel like, right? I feel like this happened. I feel like it happened. Well, when you know it happened, we'll do something about it. But I feel like it happened is in the realm of OCD, not it actually happened. That's a totally different statement. This thing really happened is a different statement than I feel like this thing happened. And so a good therapist helps you to really differentiate between the two, between I feel like this happened, and helps you to work on challenging that, versus this did happen, and then we'll help you deal with that. Okay. That's some differences there. All right, everyone. It's been another fast hour. And you're right, Nikki, to Jeannie, you can't just stop a thought. It doesn't work that way. It would be nice. I'd be out of a job, but it would be nice. It'd be funny if I came to work one day and suddenly was told, hey, someone figured out how to stop thoughts, so there's no more OCD. I'd be like, well, that's cool. I don't know what I'm going to do the rest of my life, but okay, pretty cool. All right, everyone. It's been a fun hour again. Once again, NOCD is the sponsor of the Wednesday night webinars. In the third weekend of August, third Wednesday of August, we will have our Diversity Matters webinar on autism and the autism spectrum, with a couple of special guests that will join us for that. I'll be back again next week on Wednesday to continue this Q&A with all of you. I hope some of you come up with It's a What If Life songs. I'd love to see some of those next week. That would be really great. Go listen to the Annie soundtrack and make It's a What If Life song for me. Let's see how it goes. And otherwise, this will be available, like all of our past webinars, on our NOCD YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the NOCD YouTube channel to see all of these videos. We'd love to have you there and listening in. And if you need teletherapy for OCD, go to treatmyocd.com, talk to one of our care team members to see if one of our OCD trained therapists who use exposure and response prevention might be available to help you. Thanks, everyone. See you again.